Welcome back, viewers at home. Now, the Global Summit Flotilla is not only a humanitarian mission carrying much needed medical supplies and nutritional aid, but it is a moral and political one. This is something that I read from the press release by the Global Movement to Gaza. And joining me more on information regarding this, mission by the Global Summit Flotilla, I'm joined by Dr. Zaheera Soomar, who is an activist as well as a key member of the South African Global Summit Flotilla. Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah so much for joining us this evening, Doctor.
Wa alaikum salam. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you.
Now, seeing right now that the Global Summit Flotilla combines not only humanitarian aid delivery, but also with a strong moral and political stance, can you please share with us what inspired the coalition to, take this dual role of providing aid while also actively challenging this blockade on Gaza?
Yeah, I think that, we've been witnessing a genocide for 2 years, and we've been witnessing the occupation and settler colonialism of Palestine for 70 plus years. And since October 2023, there is no doubt as to what is happening in Gaza, and what is happening even in West Bank and Palestine and surrounding areas. And there's been movements around raising awareness, BDS movements, boycotts, various political pressure, etc. But it's not making a change. It is not stopping the genocide, and it is not making a difference to the man-made famine and man-made starvation that is taking place in Gaza at the moment. And so continuing to do what we do doesn't seem like it's working. We need to do something different. We need to be drastic. We need to come in massive amounts, and we need to show the Zionist entity that we are not going to stop. And this is where the Sumud Flotilla comes into play.
And what impact are you hoping that this mission will have not only on, the Palestinian, but also the international community?
I think there's a few aims. The very first aim, and the main mission of the Global Sumud Flotilla, as you've said, this is a humanitarian mission, right? We are nonviolent. We are here to deliver aid and to break the siege. So the very first aim is to do exactly that. As I said, there's a man-made famine and a man-made starvation. And humanitarian aid is not being allowed in the way that it should be in accordance with international law, as well as with the instructions by the ICJ in 2024 that instructs a humanitarian corridor be established and sufficient humanitarian aid be allowed into Gaza. That is not being met. And so the first intention of the Sumud Flotilla is to break that siege and to deliver humanitarian aid into Gaza. The second is to show the people of Palestine, the people in Gaza, the Palestinians in Gaza, that we are with them, that we are not going to rest, and that we are going to continue fighting, and we are going to continue doing these movements until such a time that the genocide stops and until such a time that Palestinians taste their freedom. Thirdly, it's to put pressure on governments, and it is to put pressure on companies around the world, because the Zionist state is upheld by various governments and various private sector companies. And with their support and their funding, they continue to do what they are doing to Palestinians at the moment. And we as people, we are consumers, we are citizens, we are social activists. We can make a difference in that regard. We can put pressure on governments and we can put pressure on companies.
Now, considering that this mission is quite, multinational and quite unprecedented, I want to find out from you what are some of the biggest logistical challenges that have, been incurred in terms of, bringing this mission together. Dr. Zaheera, are you still with us? Okay, unfortunately, I believe we lost Dr. Zaheera from, internet in terms of connectivity. Inshallah, we'll try to see that she has connected with us. Dr. Zaheera, are you still with us? All right, viewers at home, while we try to reconnect with Dr. Zaheera, she has been really giving us much insight regarding the mission that is going to be taken by different individuals, activists former lawmakers, and many, many, many known individuals who are using their platforms, who are using their connections in terms of being part of the mission and driving a bigger message around what exactly is happening in Palestine and really bringing a stop and breaking the blockade that is currently being enforced on people in Palestine. Dr. Zaheera, are you still with us?
I am with you. Can you hear me?
Jazakallah, I can hear you. And I was just, trying to find out from you, considering that this is quite a multinational mission and it's said to be unprecedented, considering that it has, or rather involves, over 50 ships and participants from at least 44 countries. Can you talk us through some of the logistical challenges that might have been incurred in terms of bringing the mission together?
I mean, look, there's a lot that needs to be considered in doing a mission like this, right? You can understand also just in terms of privacy and also safety, there's a lot that goes into the preparation, but also into the current scenario of making sure that things play out safely. Look, from a logistics perspective, there's a number of things that need to be put in play, from having boats on this to having flags on the boats. Having flags on the boats means country representation in international waters. That requires a lot of political requirements, political negotiations, and also country representation. And then there's the aspect of people on board. And there's people from, as you know, 44 different countries that will be on the flotilla. Their safety is of paramount importance, even though all of us are volunteering our time and volunteering and putting ourselves at risk and doing that willfully. We do need to think about individuals, and we do need to, the flotilla the committee does need to think about keeping individuals safe and mitigating and managing risk as best as possible. Then there's the aid that comes into play as well. What aid do we take? How do we get it onto Gaza, etc.? So there's an aspect of logistics around aid, what we can take, what we can't take. Then you have to consider external factors. We will be at sea. There are Mediterranean winds. There's a number of things that could happen. How do we mitigate it? How do we handle things kind of live in the moment? And then there's the very big aspect of, there have been 37 flotillas that have attempted this over the past many, many years, right? And we know that the first 5 were successful in reaching the Gaza shores. The other 32 were not successful in reaching Gaza, although they created awareness and they did push for change. Um, this is an unprecedented situation to have, 50 plus boats on the water. It is new territory. And so there's a lot of new consequences and new measures that have to be factored in and have to be taken up.
Hmm. And I know, Doctor, everybody knows and understands that this is quite a non-violent act of defiance against an illegal siege. I just want to find out from you, how does the flotilla maintain its commitment to non-violence in the face of, potential opposition or even interception at that?
We don't carry weapons. We have no intention of being violent. We have no intention of weapons being violent in any way or form. And we have no intention of being violent in terms of whatever we are faced with as well. As we come with peace. We abiding by international law. This is a humanitarian mission, and in order for us to abide by international law from a humanitarian perspective, we have to commit to certain things. And we, as a total, organizing participant body, have committed to that. As angry as we might be, that needs to be set aside. We need to focus on the mission at hand, and we need to do it in the way that we've promised to do it. And this is not about breaking up violence. This is about delivering aid, and that's what we intend to do. It is purely to get to the shores of Gaza and deliver the aid.
Hmm. And from previous experiences with other individuals who were also part of, the mission of providing aid to Gaza, who have been intercepted, who have been detained by the Israeli authorities. I just want to find out from you, considering that this mission is said to be dangerous or just politically complicated, what motivates the diverse group of activists, humanitarian workers, medical professionals, artists, and others who, participate despite the risks?
I've been asked that question a lot, especially as a mother. I'm a mother and I've got 3 kids, and 2 of my kids are still young. And a lot of people, including my own family, has asked me, why would you put yourself at risk?
Mm,
And there's a few reasons. One is what we potentially will face is nothing. compared to what the people of Palestine and Gaza are facing at the moment. We see it on screens daily, every minute. So what we are potentially subjecting ourselves to isn't even a minuscule of what they go through on a daily basis every single day. They are living this nightmare consistently, and they can't get out of it. And so that's a big motivator. The second aspect is I think about my children, and I think about if this was my child. What would I expect the world to do? What would I want them to do? And one day when my children are older and they ask me, what did you do, Mom, when you saw this happening? Because it will be history for them. Um, and when I think about, the day of Akhirah as a Muslim, and standing in front of Allah and trying to explain what did I do in this time. Those are all motivators for me. As a Muslim, we know our lives are in Allah's hands. We know freedom and we know liberation comes from Allah. But this is our fight to fight. And as a parent and as a human being and as someone with a heart, um, this is why we put ourselves out there because it is our fight.
Hmm. And I think this would be a great moment to just ask you, Doctor, in terms of why was this mission, if you're able to share, Doctor, in terms of why was the mission, named Sumud Flotilla and nothing indifferent to what it is now?
So the word Sumud means resistance, right? And it means it, and so this is about resistance, about fighting back against colonialism, against oppression. It is the backdrop of what we're trying to do here. It is resistance in the form of the siege, the man-made starvation, the man-made famine, the genocide, etc. And that's also part of the fuel that builds us and keeps us going in terms of motivation.
Doctor, can you share your thoughts on the importance of direct action as a means of effecting real change?
Yes, when you mean direct action, what do you refer to?
I mean to say, there are individuals who are protesting, who are, also boycotting certain products. But I believe individuals who are embarking on this mission are, have the potential of putting their risks in or their lives at risk. I just want to find out from you because this we believe is, paramount to effective real change or hopes of actually achieving that. Can you tell us a bit on, in terms of your view, why it is quite important to
Yeah.
take such a step?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to say that this is more important than anything else, doing your protests, putting pressure on government, boycotting, these are all important
Mm.
aspects. They all play a role. We're fighting a very big monster, right? Oppression, colonialism, Zionism. It takes a multi-pronged approach. So all of these efforts are needed. Why do we do this? Why do we take such drastic measures? Why do we risk our lives? It's because we need to show the oppressor that we are willing to risk our lives, that we are willing to take drastic measures, that we are not going to stop, and that the more you push back on us, the bigger the number we are going to come in next time. And this is exactly what's happening with the flotilla. And unless we're willing to do this, we're not ultimately going to break that oppression and that colonialism, right? We look at our South African history and we've been through the same thing. In order for us to really have overturned apartheid, people had to put their lives at risk. People were jailed, people were prisoned. And if you think back about our history as South Africans, if we didn't take those steps, I'm not sure where we would be today, to be honest.
Hmm. And lastly, Doctor, what can others do who are not on the flotilla to support the flotilla and this mission?
Everything else that we talked about. So one is support the flotilla mission. Two is continue to put pressure on the government, in their support, unless a government is completely cutting off ties with Israel, kicking the embassy out, calling for boycotts and divestments and changing their commercial strategies. Unless they're doing that, they completely, you know, not supporting Israel and also just cutting supporting weapon supports, funding, etc. Unless a government is doing all of that, they're still complicit. They're still supporting the Zionist entity. So we all need to continue to put pressure on our governments We all need to put pressure on, just continue to boycott. We all need to put pressure on private companies. Anybody that's funding weapons to Israel, anybody that's supporting Israel, anybody that's funding anything to do with it, their political movement, their ability to do what they're doing in Gaza, all of that needs to stop. So everybody that's not on the flotilla has a very important job. We all need to just keep pushing at every single multi-pronged aspect that we're looking at.
Dr. Zaheera, Jazakallah so much, for joining us tonight and really giving us insight on the mission. And we pray, inshallah, that, it is a success and Allah protects everyone on the mission and Allah grants you guys, reward, abundant reward, and inshallah, Jannatul Firdaus. Jazakallah so much, Doctor, for joining us.
Inshallah. Inshallah, Ameen. Wa iyaki, it's a pleasure.
Ameen. Viewers at home, that was Dr. Zaheera Soomar, who is an activist as well as a key member of the South African Global Summit Flotilla, who was just giving us insight in terms of, the individuals, or rather just a summary of who's going to be part of this mission, and, exactly how this mission is just beyond providing humanitarian aid, but it's one about driving a very strong message to the international community around the starvation of the Palestinian people and really breaking that siege that has been enforced on our Palestinian brothers and sisters. But viewers at home, that's where we leave it for now. Let's head over to an ad break. We'll see you just shortly.